You don't need me to tell you life hurts. Right now, you might feel like you're breaking. But what if the very trial you're begging God to take away is the one He's using to build you into someone unshakable? James 1 says your pain isn't punishment. It's the very thing producing your strength. This isn't your typical pep talk. Today we're tackling one of the hardest, most misunderstood teachings in the Bible, James 1:2-4. The verse that dares to say, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds." Pure joy in pain. It almost sounds offensive. Yet hidden inside these verses is a blueprint for how to survive your darkest nights without losing your faith or your mind. By the time we're done, you'll see your suffering differently. Not as random punishment, but as the soil where unshakable faith grows. You're watching The Word, where timeless scripture speaks to today's struggles. Make sure you subscribe. We're bringing you new faith-driven videos every week. Let's press in. Imagine this: your bank account is empty. Your body is breaking down. Your relationships are crumbling. And then someone walks in and says, "Be joyful." You'd want to laugh or cry. But James doesn't soften his words. He commands it. Why? Because joy and pain are not enemies. They coexist, not as surface-level happiness, but as something much deeper, a perspective rooted in God's greater purpose. The Greek word James uses for count means to evaluate, to decide, to lead your mind somewhere on purpose. Joy here isn't a feeling you stumble into, it's a choice you make. And the word for joy isn't fleeting happiness. It's kara, a deep gladness anchored in something unshakable. The same joy Jesus carried to the cross, according to Hebrews 12:2. That flips everything. Because most of us believe joy shows up after trials, when the pain is over, when the sickness heals, when the bills are paid. But James says the opposite. Joy lives in the middle of the storm, not because the storm feels good, but because you know it's producing something inside you. Let's be real. Most of us don't live this way. When life collapses, we panic. We complain. We scroll endlessly looking for an escape. We cry out, "God, why me?" Financial collapse, mental health struggles, a broken marriage, rejection from people we trusted. These aren't just words on a page. These are the very battles people in our community are facing today. And here's the raw truth. When trials hit, it feels like God has abandoned us. That's where James is brilliant. He doesn't deny the pain. He reframes it. Trials, he says, are not meaningless suffering. They are purposeful testing. And that changes everything. What once looked like a setback is revealed as a setup for spiritual growth. Think of gold. When it first comes out of the ground, it's ugly, full of impurities. But put it in the fire and the heat burns away what doesn't belong. What comes out is stronger, purer, more valuable. James says trials do the same thing to your faith. And this is where the Bible overflows with examples. Joseph was betrayed, enslaved, and imprisoned for crimes he didn't commit. For years it looked like suffering had the last word. But when he finally stood in power, he told his brothers, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good." Genesis 50:20. Job lost everything, wealth, health, even his children. His friends accused him of sin, yet his suffering wasn't punishment, it was proof. Proof that Job's worship wasn't shallow, but real. And in the end, God restored him. Peter thought he was strong. He swore he'd never deny Jesus. But under pressure, fear consumed him. He failed miserably. Yet that trial shattered his pride, and when the Spirit filled him, Peter became the bold leader who preached at Pentecost. Even Jesus, the Son of God, didn't escape suffering. Betrayed, beaten, crucified. But Hebrews 12:2 says it was for the joy set before him that he endured the cross. His pain and joy didn't cancel each other. They coexisted. These aren't just ancient stories. They're blueprints. Proof that faith isn't forged in comfort. It's forged in fire. But let's bring it home. Because you're not Joseph in Egypt or Job in ashes. You're in 2025, fighting anxiety that won't leave, working a job that drains you, sitting in silence after someone walked out, watching the doctor shake his head. So the question becomes, how do you actually live James 1 when life is this brutal? Here's the turning point, James 1:3-4. Because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. Perseverance isn't just surviving. It's endurance with purpose. It's the difference between quitting halfway and letting God finish the work. Think of a diamond. Before it shines, it spends years buried, crushed under unthinkable pressure. Without that pressure, it remains carbon, ordinary. But because of it, it becomes extraordinary. That's what your trials are doing. Which verse or moment should we dive into next? Suggest it in the comments. I'd love to do a video on it. And let's be clear, trials aren't punishment. James himself later says God tempts no one. Trials are either the result of a fallen world, attacks of the enemy, or sometimes, yes, discipline from a loving father training his children. But in every case, God bends them for your good. Romans 8:28 doesn't say all things are good. It says all things work together for good. So when you feel crushed, remember, you're not being destroyed. You're being transformed. This is why joy and pain coexist. Because biblical joy isn't about pretending life doesn't hurt. It's about seeing the hurt through the lens of hope. Your suffering isn't wasted. That heartbreak? It's refining your character. That waiting season? It's strengthening your patience. That loss you thought would break you? It's preparing you for a purpose you can't yet see. And one day, maybe not tomorrow, maybe not even next year, you'll look back and realize the storm that almost drowned you became the wave that carried you closer to God. So whatever you're facing today, hear this. You are not abandoned. You are not being punished. You are being shaped. Perseverance is finishing its work. And when it does, James promises you will be complete, lacking nothing. That's why James dares to say, consider it pure joy. Because in the end, trials don't define you, they refine you. If this opened your eyes, you'll want to see what's next. 7 biblical myths debunked, what you never knew about these traditions. Click now and stay blessed, the Word family.